podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Groom. I have a very special guest that I want to bring to the stage, specializing in financial services. As you all know, this season we are focusing on local business owners, founders in the Charlotte area, and just different regions that support diverse founders, Black founders. And so I'm very excited to have with us today Leah Young, co-founder of Impact the Culture Financial Group. But without further ado, let's bring Leah to the stage. Oh wait, like we're I just want you all to remember we're doing episodes in person. At times it's gonna take me just a second to get adjusted to having the guests here live with me. But without further ado, Leah, how are you doing today?
I am. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I just want to thank you so much for hopping on season 6. We're on season 6. We just released our first episode. If you all are on your favorite streaming platform, make sure if you're listening to this, you go back to that first episode of the season. And just while you're at it, listen to all our episodes. We want to make sure that all the incredible Black founders that are on our platform get your ear for a second. But yeah, I want to spend a little bit of time letting folks know about what you're doing in the financial services space. Maybe we can start things off by just letting folks know what's your background prior to you starting this incredible company.
Yeah, sure. Before I even get into that, Kenny, thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm super excited. It's my first podcast. Let's hope this goes well. This goes well. But yeah, and congratulations on 6 seasons. That's awesome. So, what is my background? But it definitely is not in the financial services space. Growing up, I actually wanted to be a writer. So I was writing short stories and had the beginnings of a novel. And then I got really interested in film writing and making movies. And I did a semester at the Seattle Film Institute. So I really thought I was going to be like Issa Rae, Ava DuVernay. That was really my goal. At that time, I was really starting to think about it was probably like 2019, right after Nipsey passed, and just learning about what he was doing in his community. I'm from a small neighborhood in Greensboro, North Carolina, and both my parents are from this neighborhood. My grandparents on both sides are from this neighborhood. So I was really starting to think about legacy and trying to follow his blueprint on putting my neighborhood on the map. So when financial services came into or just fell in my lap, it was like, oh, I see what you're doing there, God. Because
Mhm.
I really thought I was about to go move to an island, take pictures and read books and write. And I pretty much focus on me, what I wanted to do. And God has this unique way of pivoting us so that we are not self seeking, but doing service. So that's really how I came into the industry. That's a little bit about my background. I also worked admin, corporate, and different things like that. But that's how I came into the industry. My co-founder, business partner, she was recruited, and I was starting to listen to the way that these young people of color were talking about money and wealth, and again, just this legacy building. And I was like, let me really start to listen. And then I actually heard God say, Leah, really listen to what's going on here. This is what's going to set your family free. So that's how I came into the industry and a little bit about my background.
Yeah, I love it. There's a couple things that stood out as you were talking. Your knack for storytelling, wanting to be a writer. I think that's really cool. That's a skill set where it's one of those things where once you tell somebody that, they're like, oh, you can just go write books. And it's not necessarily like you can really craft stories as a business owner,
Right,
no matter the
right.
industry. And so you going into financial services, I think that's really cool, because we need better stories. We need new stories to be told in that space.
Exactly.
And then the piece on around Nipsey, just like seeing his business mentality, his acumen grow, and what he was building during that time. I think that was definitely motivational to a lot of people, and so it's
Absolutely.
really cool that you took that motivation. Using Nipsey as somewhat of a muse, right, for
Yeah, yeah.
your business undertakings. I think that's a way that we don't think about our entertainers a lot of times. Like we just see them as
Well, there are very
entertainers.
few that we can think of like that. So, but
That's
that's
the
another
debate.
that's
Yeah,
another
that's a debate.
podcast topic, I guess.
Yeah, that's a hot topic, but what he was doing, telling his own story, you being a story in the telling your own stories, like what about financial services? Like what part of the story was missing for you? We all know that when we go to a movie, there's a beginning, there's some type of setup, there's some climax, there's some moments of discomfort, and then there's usually that triumph at the end. So I'm curious, like where from a financial services perspective are you inserting your pen
I
at
got
this
you.
moment?
Yeah. So I guess the beginning is we all have a money blueprint. And it's usually passed down to us from our parents or grandparents or just someone else. And for me, it was graduating high school, my father telling me two things. He said, Leah, save your money and protect your credit. So that
Mhm.
was the beginning or sort of the foundations of my money blueprint. Granted, that was all he knew to tell me, but it was a start. Of course, I get a bank account, I'm saving money, and I'm hearing this thing called interest. And I'm wondering, okay, I'm gonna start to see my money grow in the bank. And credit, okay, I'm on campus and there are credit cards everywhere. So
Mhm.
I get a couple credit cards, but I don't know anything about these things, these products, right? So of course, if we're telling the story, it's okay, that's the beginning. And then you start
Mhm.
to accumulate this debt, right? Not even just from the cards, but even from my student loans, just going to college. So now I'm accumulating debt. But again, I don't have any education behind what these products are supposed to do, how to utilize them properly. So I'm just out here balling. Like I'm
Like we
just
all, we
spitting, right.
all,
We've
we,
all been there,
yeah, we
right,
all
guys?
who have gone to college have got that check, that refund check,
Right.
or just a lump sum of money. Maybe you got some scholarship money here and there. You just got that lump sum of money in your account,
And
and like you
no one
said,
is telling you what to do with this money, right?
yep,
No one is saying, hey, save, or maybe you can invest, or,
someone is telling us what to do. McDonald's
yes.
cookouts here, if you're in the North Carolina area,
Yes.
all the
The
department stores,
mall.
they're telling us what to do with that
Come,
money.
come, spend, spend,
Yep.
spend. So I quickly became a consumer, a spender. And that was, I would say, my trajectory for many years, ups, downs, all of that. And it really wasn't until I got into the industry and I had coaches and mentors and other people that were like minded that were able to educate me. So the first time I actually heard, and again, I had gone to college, worked in corporate America. But no one was teaching me about money. I didn't even have life insurance at the time. Just coming into the industry, being around like-minded people that really wanted to educate me first and foremost, tell me about these products, tell me how I could set my family up because again, I'm thinking legacy. My grandmother, she just turned 100. God bless her. Um, I was really starting to think, okay, when she's no longer here, who steps up as the matriarch of our family and is able to pass down all the lessons that myself and my cousins my age were able to glean from her? Who's going to pass that down to their kids and their kids? So I really just wanted to be someone who could not only educate my family, but then start to educate my community. But if I first had to learn it myself. So that would be the, what do they call that, the story arc
The
or
story
whatever,
arc.
yes,
Yep.
of how I came into the industry and what it means to me. And when you think about how as a creative we're always, even if we don't have, we're not working in art or being creative, we're doing our 9 to 5 or whatever, we're always looking for ways to use that side of our brain. And in our industry, we're always saying facts tell, stories sell, or facts sell, stories tell. One of the two. I might be getting it backwards, but needless to say, when you're telling a story to someone, that is what's really going to pull them in. And when it comes to our money and financial services and what we want to be able to do for our families, you can tell a lot of stories. There are a lot of stories where people got it right. There are unfortunately more stories where people got it wrong. But again, there is that turning point where it's like, hey, now I'm learning. So I can go from not knowing to starting to learn and implement and then being able to change that narrative for my family.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing how you think about the story that you're trying to tell. I'm curious. I want to dig into the story of you as a co-founder. You do have somebody else that you're building the business with. In terms of the story arc for a co-founder, right? There's definitely more than one moment most of the time for founders where you hit your head against the wall. There's some trials and tribulations. So I'm curious if you can share a little bit about, for your specific story, what are some trials and tribulations that you've had to overcome in your storyline to becoming